The story starts with the introduction of a young man, hereafter referred to as the Rubber Boy, who eats a mysterious devil fruit and dreams of becoming the great pirate's king. In 2023, we revisit the live-action adaptation of the One Piece saga. About 22 years ago, in the busy port city of Logotown, the famous Gold D. Roger, widely known as the King of the Pirates, finds himself in his final days under the constant watch of the law. The Vice Admiral of the Navy, Garp, chases Roger with strong determination, eventually succeeding in capturing him. Surprisingly, despite his criminal status, Roger gathers a passionate following. In his final moments, he leaves behind a mysterious clue about the location of his legendary treasure, One Piece, reportedly hidden within the tricky Grand Line. He excitedly promises unimaginable fame, wealth, and power to anyone who can get their hands on it. Roger's mysterious words create an unparalleled frenzy in the world of piracy, with hopeful individuals setting sail in pursuit of the Pirate King's hidden treasure. Among these adventurers is Monkey D. Luffy, who has dreamed of discovering One Piece since his childhood. However, Luffy faces a challenging obstacle in the form of his inability to swim, which leaves him without a seaworthy vessel and a crew. To avoid a watery demise, he hides himself in a barrel, unintentionally beginning a perilous sea voyage. Fate intervenes, guiding his barrel to the midst of a fierce battle between two rival pirate ships. One of these vessels is under the command of Captain Alveda, a fugitive with a substantial bounty on her head. After defeating their enemies, Alveda's crew collects the supply barrels, unknowingly including the one containing Luffy. Kobe, a reluctant member of Alveda's crew, finds himself with no choice but to obey orders, fearing the results of defiance. That night, while working in the ship's hold, Kobe stumbles upon an unexpected visitor, none other than Luffy himself. Luffy identifies himself as a fellow pirate and reveals his bold ambition of navigating to the Grand Line, now ominously known as the Ship Graveyard. In a brave attempt to help Luffy's escape before Alveda wakes up, Kobe plays a critical role in the theft of a lifeboat. Unfortunately, their escape attempt awakens the entire crew. Believing Kobe has betrayed her, Alveda launches an attack on him. Luffy, however, steps in, stopping Alveda's assault and defeating her crew. During the intense battle, it becomes apparent that Luffy possesses an extraordinary ability. His body is incredibly stretchy, enabling him to easily dodge Alveda's attacks. In a decisive move, Luffy dispatches Alveda by sending her overboard. This event marks Kobe's freedom from the clutches of the pirates who have ensnared him, prompting him to set a course for the Grand Line alongside Luffy. As their journey unfolds, Kobe probes into the origin of Luffy's remarkable powers, prompting Luffy to recount his childhood dreams. Luffy has aspired to join the crew of the legendary Shank and embark on seafaring adventures with his own group of pirates. In an attempt to prove his readiness, he has suffered an injury that leaves a permanent mark. While rummaging through treasures from the crew's latest expedition, Luffy has stumbled upon a mysterious fruit, which he has impulsively eaten. This seemingly innocent act grants him the astonishing ability to stretch every part of his body, an unforeseen result of consuming an Akuma no Mi. Learning of Kobe's desire to become a naval officer driven by a desire to protect people, Luffy is inspired by the prospect of helping Kobe realize his dream. And he decides to change their course, heading toward the nearest Navy base. This decision not only facilitates his friend's pursuit of a career in the Marines, but also presents an opportunity to secure a map that will lead them to the Grand Line. Upon their arrival in the City of Shells, Luffy and Kobe choose to have a meal at a local restaurant before embarking on their mission. There, they encounter Roronoa Zoro, a highly skilled swordsman. A young girl named Rika unintentionally offends Zoro, leading to a confrontation with a belligerent man named Helmeppo. In the midst of this altercation, a cunning individual named Nami takes the opportunity to steal a marine uniform and secretly infiltrate the Navy base. Zoro's fight with the Marines captures Luffy's attention, recognizing him as the swordsman from the previous night. Luffy takes it upon himself to free Zoro from his predicament and extends an invitation to join his pirate crew. However, Zoro, with a background as a pirate hunter driven solely by the imperative of survival, politely declines. As undeterred, Luffy persists in his mission. Meanwhile, Nami's covert activities are exposed, compelling her to engage in combat with two Marines to evade capture. After emerging victorious, she hides their unconscious bodies and unites forces with Luffy to evade detection. Together they head for Captain Morgan's office, hoping to obtain valuable information. When Captain Morgan suddenly appears, Nami claims to be escorting Luffy to prison, affording them an opportunity to outmaneuver Axe Hand and secure the keys to Morgan's office. Simultaneously, Zoro focuses on reclaiming his prized sword from Helmeppo. Surprisingly, Zoro chooses to give Helmeppo a haircut instead of a lethal blow. Meanwhile, Luffy and Nami embark on a daring break-in into Captain Morgan's office in search of the coveted map. Their plans are thwarted when they discover the map securely locked within a safe, and Morgan becomes aware of their intrusion. Desperate to escape, Luffy manages to seize the safe, but their attempt results in them crashing through a window, bringing them face to face with a group of Marines. Consequently, Luffy, Nami, and Zoro join forces to combat this unexpected threat. Nami wields her staff against their foes, while Luffy uses his rubbery limbs to fend off attacks. In the midst of the battle, Zoro makes a dramatic entrance after recovering his three swords. Grateful for Luffy's earlier assistance, Zoro offers his support. Following the defeat of the Marines, Captain Morgan emerges as a formidable opponent. At this crucial moment, additional officers arrive on the scene. Nami takes it upon herself to confront them, thereby affording Luffy and Zoro the opportunity to devise a strategy against the formidable Morgan. Zoro unleashes his three swords, successfully immobilizing the captain. Luffy follows suit with his rubber leg, ultimately defeating the formidable foe. With victory secured, Zoro retrieves the safe, and Nami commandeers a boat for their escape. Suddenly, Helmeppo re-emerges, brandishing a threat to the group. However, he is caught off guard and rendered unconscious by Kobe's swift punch. In this pivotal moment, Kobe bids farewell to his newfound friend, revealing his intention to remain at the base and pursue a career in the Navy. The trio continues on their journey, and that night, after hours of effort, Nami finally obtains the invaluable map. Just when their fortunes seem to be on the rise, their boat comes under attack, and a crimson smoke engulfs them, leading to unconsciousness. In a final act of desperation, Luffy swallows the map to safeguard it within his own body. Upon awakening, they find themselves confined within a wooden crate. As the crate is opened, they realize they have been transported to a peculiar circus. To their astonishment, they discover that they are on an island, and the spectators are actually townspeople held captive. The enigmatic Buggy then makes his entrance, disclosing his months-long plan to steal the Grand Line map, perceiving an opportunity in the form of the young intruders who have already done the challenging work. When they refuse to disclose the map's location, Buggy opts to interrogate them separately, beginning with Luffy. In front of the audience, Luffy is bound and subjected to a bizarre, stretching torture by Buggy. Recognizing the futility of this approach, Buggy resorts to emotional manipulation, using a young boy as leverage. Luffy, however, breaks free and retaliates when he sees the child in danger. It is then revealed that Buggy too has consumed an Akuma no Mi, granting him the power to dismember his body using red smoke. In a confrontation with Luffy, he incapacitates the young pirate, who awakens to find himself trapped in a glass box slowly filling with seawater. The drawback of Akuma no Mi becomes evident. Any user who contacts seawater is severely weakened. Luffy, despite knowing the danger, adamantly refuses to surrender the map and ultimately drowns. During this perilous moment, memories from his childhood resurface. Luffy had been captured by a malevolent pirate and left to drown at sea. A sea monster approached, but before it could harm Luffy, Shanks intervened, losing an arm in the process. A single glance from Shanks had driven the creature away. However, the loss of Shanks' arm left Luffy feeling guilty. As a parting gift, Shanks bestowed upon him the straw hat, which became Luffy's most cherished possession. While Luffy remains trapped, Zoro undergoes an interrogation by one of Buggy's henchmen. Zoro manages to distract Kabaji, enabling Nami to break free from her show and attack the henchman. Nami then liberates her friend, and they rush to Luffy's aid. Seeing Luffy in peril, Nami uses her staff to shatter the glass, and Luffy expels the map. Buggy, in response, divides his body into numerous pieces and launches attacks against Zoro and Nami. Witnessing the dire situation of his companions, Luffy takes action but is defeated once again. In a moment of inspiration, he decides to imprison Buggy's body parts within crates. With the assistance of his friends, Luffy successfully eliminates every piece of Buggy, ultimately expelling the clown from the tent and retrieving the map. As a parting gesture of goodwill, they release the grateful townspeople. With the map in their possession, their next destination becomes the Grand Line, but they require a ship to get there. The team decides to make a pit stop at the Gecko Islands, where Nami explores local security to determine the optimal time to steal a boat. While exploring the shipyard, Luffy encounters the perfect ship and meets Usopp, a young man responsible for ship cleaning. Usopp claims to be a close friend of the shipyard's owner. Upon arriving at the mansion, Usopp encounters Butchie, who seems less than pleased to see him. Fortunately, Kaya, the mansion's owner, arrives just in time, inviting Usopp and his friends to her upcoming birthday celebration. Klahadore, the mansion's butler, harbors reservations about this idea. Ever since Kaya's parents passed away, he has assumed the role of her guardian and held her trust. To please Kaya, he enlists Sham to escort the newcomers to their suite for dinner. Minutes later, Usopp uses a secret passage to visit Kaya in her room and present her with a birthday gift. While they converse, Kaya experiences a bout of coughing, which subsides after she drinks tea prepared by Klahadore. 3 years prior, Kaya had fallen gravely ill, and no medicine could alleviate her condition. Later, the group joins other guests in the ballroom, where Nami encounters Mr. Mary, responsible for managing Kaya's finances. Mr. Mary has served the family faithfully for many years and is dearly esteemed by Kaya. As Kaya's 18th birthday approaches, she will inherit her parents' substantial estate, prompting Mr. Mary to express concern about certain documents she intends to sign. However, his warning is interrupted by Klahadore. As dinner is served, Butchie presents a blue soup reserved exclusively for Kaya, who adheres to a strict dietary regimen. Yet as she prepares to eat, she succumbs to another bout of coughing and is escorted to her room. As the hour grows late, she extends an invitation for Usopp and his friends to spend the night at the mansion. In the early morning hours, Luffy sets out in search of food, while Zoro embarks on a quest for rum. By chance, the two cross paths and proceed to the kitchen together. Meanwhile, Nami seizes the opportunity to investigate the mansion's contents, but inadvertently enters Kaya's room. Despite learning of Nami's thieving intentions, Kaya harbors no ill will toward her unexpected guest. Instead, the two engage in friendly conversation, forming a bond of friendship. When they arrive in the kitchen, they find Usopp, who informs them of a wine cellar in the mansion's basement. Zoro asks Usopp to guide him there, while Luffy stays in the kitchen to devour the pot of soup meant for Kaya. While exploring, Usopp stumbles over Mary's body, and Klahadore, whose real name is Kuro, suddenly appears. Kuro, previously the captain of the Black Cat Pirates, was believed to have been eliminated by Morgan, but it appears he has escaped that fate. Zoro swiftly draws his swords upon discovering the truth, but Sham sneaks up and attacks him with a bottle. Usopp becomes the next target but manages to escape, seeking help. Kuro then orders his henchmen to dispose of Mary and the swordsman's bodies in a pit, ensuring they won't be found. As Usopp runs through the city seeking assistance, he encounters Kobe and Helmeppo, now Navy cadets sent to the island to capture Luffy. Believing them to be allies, Usopp informs the Marines about his friend being in danger and pleads for their help in arresting the butler. With no concrete evidence to act upon, the Marines are unable to intervene. Helmeppo mentions their mission to capture a fugitive named Luffy in an attempt to dismiss Usopp's pleas, prompting Klahadore to hand the young man over to the Marines. Nami seizes the opportunity when Sham is alone to attack her with a frying pan, and Usopp hurries to warn Kaya about the danger she is in. After a conversation with Kaya, Nami heads to the kitchen and discovers Luffy unconscious. Suddenly, Klahadore and his cronies appear, and Nami has to hide. From their conversation, Nami discerns that the soup Luffy consumed was poisoned, and Klahadore is furious because it was intended for Kaya. Kobe arrives at the doorbell, and Usopp reveals that Klahadore is the pirate endangering his friend. However, lacking concrete proof, the Marines can't take action. Helmeppo interjects, stating they have been sent to capture a fugitive named Luffy. In an effort to rid themselves of the Marines, Klahadore hands Usopp over to them. Nami uses the opportunity when Sham is alone to attack her with a frying pan, and Usopp hurries to warn Kaya about the impending danger. Upon learning that the person she trusts most intends to harm her, Kaya goes into shock. Her distress deepens when Nami informs her that Klahadore has been poisoning her for years through tea. The trio escapes using one of the secret passages, evading the pursuing Klahadore and his henchmen. However, they are discovered when Kaya begins coughing. Thankfully, they fend off the attacks and reach Kaya's late parents' old room. Several hours later, Zoro awakens and begins climbing the well to the surface. On their way back to the Navy ship, Kobe begins to doubt the veracity of Usopp's claims. Suddenly, Luffy awakens, and after expelling the soup he had consumed, he starts to recover. Zoro appears soon after, and together they return to the mansion to confront Klahadore. Klahadore reveals his true identity as Captain Kuro, who faked his death to escape the pirate life and plotted to steal Kaya's fortune. He formulated the plan to take her life, along with those of the servants, as a safeguard against anyone uncovering his secret. Just as he is about to kill the weakened Kaya, the Straw Hat Pirates arrive to challenge him. Kuro boasts of his superhuman speed, claiming that he can kill them all in a heartbeat. However, Luffy takes up the challenge and, with one powerful punch, defeats Kuro, ending his reign of terror. The Marines, observing the battle, arrest Kuro, while Kaya reveals her intention to become a doctor. Nami, Usopp, and Klahadore reveal the truth about Kuro's actions to the town. With the threat of Kuro gone, Kaya offers the Straw Hat Pirates a ship in gratitude for saving her life. The group accepts the offer, and with a new ship and a determined crew, they set sail for the Grand Line, continuing their journey to find One Piece and achieve their dreams. Here this One Piece season story ends.